self-knowledge. It is necessary for happiness. It is essential for immortality. It transcends sensory perception, which pertains only to the body and objects of the world, all of which are experienced in the mind as if in a dream. It transcends thought. For one thought does not know another. For whom are all the thoughts? Who is the one that knows? Undefined by the body and its attributes, the mind and its conceptions. What are you? The assumed individuality is not actually your nature, your existence. Egoless. What is your existence? Not existing as such and such a thing, but what is existence itself? It is without beginning and without end, for existence does not cease to exist at any time. Being bodiless, it is birthless and deathless. Unformed, boundaryless, homogeneous. It is. Individualized, not particularized. not an object of perception or conception. You are only Satchidananda, being, consciousness, bliss, of the very nature of Brahman, the immeasurably vast Absolute. As an ego, one cannot realize this. But are you the ego? If not, what remains to be called yourself? Self-knowledge, therefore, is known in, of, and by the self. No other is involved. If to you, you appear otherwise, find out what this you is. Inquire within yourself, who am I? Sri Bhagavan said that the egoless state is the real state, the only real state that there is. An unreal state has no actual existence. The individualized existence or ego seems to be only so long as one does not deeply inquire. If you inquire into this individualized existence, its individuality being unreal will vanish, and what remains is that which is eternal, the infinite, Brahman, the one existence. know your being as it is, and you know happiness. Indeed, you are the happiness. Of what substance is the knowledge? It is not a perception or conception. It is only consciousness itself, knowing itself non-objectively. So negate from your sense of identity all that is objective. And inwardly, silently realize the true significance of I. It is only that, Brahman, the true self.
Thank you, Master, for your discourse. The most absolute parts of it being completely clear, of course. But so I would only ask about a small dismissal you made in the beginning, about the reality self being beyond senses, beyond thought. And if you'll allow me to ramble a little bit, I get some inspiration from the literature when, in a couple of ways. One is that term for the internal organ as a description of the mind, so that it's put on a par with the five sense organs, and the unreliability of the senses carries over to the mind, and the nebulousness of the mind carries over to the senses. And by putting them together, they're less tangible, less reliable. And so to see that thought and perception, well, perception is a thought, seems to be very useful. Now, again, I'd ask your indulgence because the second example is a little more rambling. In Gautapada's Karika, at the beginning, he makes a reference to how the states of mind are like 4 feet. And that it can also mean quarters. And when Shankara makes a comment on it, he says, he's not talking about 4 stages of an argument as usually meant. He's talking about 4 concentric layers, like a special coin, that the analogy is a coin. And then there's a translator, maybe Nikalananda or someone like that, who says it's a Lakshana coin or a name, something like that, where you have different denominations of a coin hammered into each other. And percept is the waking state. Concept, even when you just pause for a moment and daydream or remember, is a little bit of a dream state. And then the space between the thoughts, the next layer of the coin, is deep sleep, and it's all in Turiya consciousness. And so the translator claims that Shankar is saying that Gaudapada was referring to that so that you wouldn't see any difference between the unreal outer layers of percept and concept. I mean, this is real nitpicking, but I get high thinking along those lines sometimes. I like it.
Did you have a question concerning it?
No, I mean, it just seems like when you said beyond senses, beyond thought, and then went into a very, absolute instruction, it just serves well to dismiss those two as really being the same thing.
They are. What do you know about percepts other than what is conceived?
Well, I mean, you seem to have percept in a dream, and that's certainly just thought.
How is the waking state different?
Can't find any difference. And that sort of illusion that the space between thoughts is a deep sleep state. One of the discussions that I like in that some teachers seem to make, like Atmananda, is that in that state, since there's no time, you can't really say it's a short interval, it's a timeless, infinite interval, much, much greater than those little percepts and concepts.
All right, then. So then waking is within the dream or another kind of dream, both of which appear only in the deep sleep state. In what does the deep sleep appear?
Well, that's the 4th layer of the coin, that's consciousness, which they all are.
The consciousness is stateless. That consciousness which transcends all states, which is no sort of thing but which everything is, should be known as yourself. If you enjoy so much thinking about it,
There's more.
just consider how much joy there is in actually inquiring and having your identity absorbed in that, to abide as that. So, cease to consider yourself as anything that appears in the waking state. Likewise, the dream. Likewise, any sense of darkness associated with deep sleep. What remains? It's not a thing. It's not an absence of things. It is neither dark nor light, nor any combination thereof. If you are not in a state of mind, where are you? If you are not anything that appears in any way whatsoever in any state of mind, what are you? Not only are you not in a state of mind, but as is mentioned in the Karika by Gaudapada, you are not the experiencer of such states. You're neither a waker, nor a dreamer, nor a sleeper. So then, what are you?
Friday in the Ribhu reading, it started a meditation for me that has been really productive and continues. As soon as you started the discourse, it just picked it up kind of where Friday left off, but it doesn't really seem to end actually. But on Friday, Ribhu was talking about the experience of a jiva mukta, one who's liberated while alive. And he said that that one does not have anything that he would call mine. And I asked myself, do I feel like I have stuff, mine, possessions? And the answer was yes. I've got my clothes, I've got my car, I've got my house. And I started to try to figure out, what does that really require to have that stuff be mine? And it seems that it requires a misidentification with the body. Because if you don't have a body, like we say, you can't take it with you. None of the people in the graveyard across the street have any of that stuff that they had. So it seems that it requires that misidentification to have the world and the stuff in it. And then he also, or you talked about the same thing with thoughts. If you have my thoughts, then it requires me to think of myself as having a mind or in a mind or a thinker. So I must be misidentifying with the mind if I think these thoughts are mine. So then I tried to take it a step further, and it's like, does the body actually own it? The body doesn't have that. It's not a conscious thing that goes around and picks stuff up and collects it. Nor does the mind seem to do that. There's something else that I think has this stuff. And is that who I think I am? It reminded me in Sadarshana, the Maharshi, I think it's verse around 12 or 13, where he talks about the mind is this grasping mechanism. They grasp something. So if I observe my mind, that's what it's doing. The next thought, that's my thought, my thought, my thought, my thought. Not even really thinking that it's mine, it just seems like it's reality. So when I try to get at who is the one who's collecting all this stuff, am I actually that one? Am I the one who has stuff and owns it, whether it's subtle or gross? That just naturally leads into, okay, well, who am I then? Am I this apparent one that seems to collect stuff? And I don't think so. Because I know, something in me knows about this apparent collector, that if I really try to get a hold of that one, it doesn't have any substance, especially when I take its stuff away from it. If I take the objects that it's connecting to.
Yes, if you eliminate all that is mine, my objects, as described by you, my world, my body, my thoughts, my mind, and so forth and so on. If all that is referred to as mine is eliminated, what remains of the I?
Well, the I starts to feel very different. It doesn't feel like that, the ego kind of I. I start to feel something different as more like existence or being than an individual type.
Who is the one that feels something different?
That's a great question. It's not the ego that feels something different. I don't think so, because it doesn't seem to have any consciousness. I'm assigning a consciousness to it, but I don't think it has any of its own. which really starts to, are there two of me? One who knows a lot and one who is kind of an ignorant one. But I'd like to describe where it goes from there. If I then ask the question, who am I? And try to get right into what I feel as existence. It feels like existence asking itself who it is. And it doesn't feel like a two-part process. It feels like I'm sort of revealing myself to myself, something that I've always known but have covered up with all that I and this and I and mine.
To whom does the covering belong?
Well, it can't belong to anybody else other than me. It happens within me, by me.
My covering or my ignorance. The my is itself the ignorance. My ignorance. The my is itself the ignorance.
Is that the same as that there is a second? The my is the second?
That is why elimination of I or mine are equally effective. It is, after all, liberation from the unreal. Whatever is truly you, whatever is truly yours, is that way always. What is always alone is real. What is not always is actually entirely unreal and cannot be you, for you do not cease to exist ever. So what is you, what is yours always? Whether waking, dreaming, sleeping, or otherwise. Whether living or dead. What is you, what is yours always? The idea of possession is entirely illusory. Such belief, though binding, is made of the stuff of imagination.
It's the same.
When I and mine are imagined, such is bondage. Such creates the samsara, the illusory repetitious cycle of birth and death. Freedom from I and mine is liberation from all of the imagined bondage. Now, if they are no longer your thoughts, who will maintain them?
That just brings up all kinds of comic services that one may have a thought tender or yeah, if I don't maintain them, they are instantly gone. They have no I conjure them up. I say they're real. They're all of my making.
So then, consistently trace the sense of reality, now attributed to thoughts in the world and such, to its source. Trace your identity to its true place, the self. The self is the reality.
जनक उवाच अहो निरञ्जनः शान्तो बोधोऽहं प्रकृते परः एतावन्तमहं कालं मोहेनैव विडम्बितः.
Janaka said, "Oh, I am spotless, tranquil, pure consciousness, and beyond nature. All this time I have been merely duped by illusion.
यथा प्रकाशयाम्येको देहं मेनं तथा जगत् अतो मम जगत् सर्वम् अथवा न च किञ्चन.
As I alone reveal this body, even so do I reveal this universe. Therefore, mine is all this universe, and verily nothing is mine.
सशरीरम् अहो विश्वं परित्यज्य मयाधुना कुतश्चित् कौशलादेव परमात्मा विलोक्यते.
Oh, having renounced the universe, together with the body, I now perceive the Supreme Self through the secret of wisdom.
यथा नतो यतो भिन्नास् तरङ्गाफेणुबुद्बुदाः आत्मनो न तथा भिन्न विश्वमात्मा विनिर्गतम्.
As waves, foam, and bubbles are not different from water, So the universe emanating from the self is not different from it.
तन्तु मात्रो भवेदेव पटो यद्वद् विचारितः आत्मतन्मात्रमेवेदं तद्वद्विश्वं विचारितम्.
As cloth, when analyzed, is found to be nothing but thread, so this universe, when analyzed, is nothing but the self.
यथैवेक्षुरसे क्लृप्ता तेन व्याप्तैव शर्करा तथा विश्वं मयि क्लृप्तं मया व्याप्तं निरन्तरम्.
Just as sugar generated in sugarcane juice is wholly pervaded by that juice, so the universe produced in me is permeated by me through and through.
आत्माज्ञानात् जगद्भाति आत्मज्ञानान्न भासते रज्ज्वज्ञानात् अहिर्भाति तज्ज्ञानात् भासते नहि.
The world appears from the ignorance of the self and disappears with the knowledge of the self, just as the snake appears from the non-cognition of the rope and disappears with its recognition.
प्रकाशो मे निजं रूपं नातिरिक्तोऽस्म्यहं ततः यदा प्रकाशते विश्वं तदाहं भास एव हि.
Light is my very nature. I am no other than light. When the universe manifests itself, verily then it is I that shine.
अहो विकल्पितं विश्वम् अज्ञानान्मयि भासते रूप्यं शुक्तौ फणिरज्जौ वारिसूर्यकरे यथा.
Oh, the universe appears in me, conceived through ignorance, just as silver appears in the mother of pearl, a snake in the rope, and water in the sunbeam.
मत्तो विनिर्गतं विश्वं मय्येव लयमेष्यति मृदि कुम्भो जले वीचिः कणके कटकं यथा.
Just as a jug dissolves into clay, a wave into water, and a bracelet into gold, so the universe which has emanated from me will dissolve into me.
अहो अहं नमो मह्यं विनाशो यस्य नास्ति मे ब्रह्मादिस्तम्भपर्यन्तं जगन्नाशेऽपि तिष्ठतः.
Wonderful am I, adoration to myself, who know no decay and survive even the destruction of the world, from Brahma down to a clump of grass.
अहो अहं नमो मह्यं एकोऽहं देहवानपि क्वचिन्न गन्ता न गन्ता व्याप्य विश्वम् अवस्थितः.
Wonderful am I, adoration to myself, who, though with a body, am one, who neither go anywhere nor come from anywhere, but abide pervading the universe.
எப்போதும் எவைகட்கும் அதீதமாகி இயங்கும் மனோ வாக்குகளுக்கெட்டாதான தற்போதரகித பரபிரம்மத்தானாய் தன்மயமாயிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். தேகமுதல் கல்பிதமாம் உபாதியின்றி திருஷியமாம் விஷயங்கள் யாவும் இன்றி மோகமதம் காரியமாம் எவையும் இன்றி மோனமதாயிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். பாகமுறும் நினைவையும் சற்றும் இன்றி பலவிதமாம் வாசனையும் சிறிதும் இன்றி ஏகமதாம் பரபிரம்ம தானேயாகி இருமையிலாதிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். நிதாக பல உலகத்தின் நினைவும் இன்றி நிகரில் பரபிரம்மத்தின் நினைவும் இன்றி சதானந்தமயமான பரமேயாகி சன்மயமாயிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். உதார பரிபூரண ஆனந்தமாகி ஓமையிலா நிரதிசயானந்தமாகி சிதானந்தமயமான பரமேயாகி சின்மயமாயிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். பலவிதமாய் தோற்றியவோர் நினைவும் இன்றி பரவுகுண விகாரங்கள் எவையும் இன்றி இலகுஷயம் ஜோதியதாம் பரமேயாகி இருளறவே இருந்திடுவோன் விதேகமுக்தன். அலையும் மனோவிருத்திகளை அணுவும் இன்றி அவ்விதமாம் கரணங்கள் அனைத்தும் இன்றி சலனமிலா பரபிரம்ம தானேயாகி சலியாமல் இருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். தேகமவை ஒரு மூன்றும் சிறிதும் இன்றி தேகமென தெரிந்திடுமோர் நினைவும் இன்றி ஆகமுறும் பெருத்தன் முதல் விகாரமின்றி அணுவுக்கும் அணுவாகி அகண்டமாகி சோகமுறும் துவைத்தத்தின் தோற்றம் யாவும் சொற்பமுமே இன்றிய சிற்சுபாவமான பாகமுறாம் பரபிரம்மம் தானேயாகி பங்கமர இருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். பரசிவமாய் பரபரமாய் பரமான்மாவாய் பரசுகமாய் பரிசுத்த ஸ்வரூபமாகி ஒருவரினால் காணவொண உண்மையாகி உள்வெளிகள் ஒன்றுமில்லாத கண்டமாகி சுருதி முடி சாரமதாய் சுத்த சித்தாய் சொற்பொருள்கள் சொற்பமுமே இன்றி நின்ற நிர்மலமாம் பரபிரம்ம தானேயாகி நிಶ್ಚலமாயிருப்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். இதுவதுவென் இயம்பவோனாய் ஏகான்மாவாய் என்றுமுல பரமார்த்த சத்தேயாகி மதிமுதலு கெட்டாத மகத்தாஞ்சித்தாய் மனவாக்கு ககோச்சர ஆனந்தமாகி ஸ்திரமருவா துவைத்தங்கள் எவையும் இன்றி ஸ்திரமருவும் அத்வைத ஸ்வபாவமாகி நிதமும் ஒரு வடிவான பரமேயாக நிலை பெற்று நிற்பவனே விதேகமுக்தன். பிரம்மசுதாரசந்த நிலை இருப்போனாகி பிரம்மசுதாரசந்தனையே புசிப்போனாகி பிரம்மசுதாரசந்த நிலை ரமிப்போனாகி பிரம்மசுதாரசந்தனினார் சுகிப்போனாகி பிரம்மசுதாரசந்த நிலை முகிழ்நூனாய் ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಸುಧಾ ರಸದನಿನ ತೃಪ್ತನಾಗಿ பிரம்மசுதா ரசமதுவே தானாய் நின்றோன் பின்னமிலா பரமான விதேக முக்தன் பிரம்ம மகானந்தத்தில் வசிப்போனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தம் அனுபவிப்போனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தத்தான் மகிழ்வோனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தத்தார் பிறங்குவோனாய் பிரம்ம மகானந்தத்தால் நிறைந்தோனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தத்தில் லயிப்போனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தமதே தானாய் நின்றோன் பின்னமிலா பரமான விதேக முக்தன் பிரம்ம மகானந்த ஷரீராதி உற்று பிரம்ம மகானந்தமெனும் குடும்பம் பெற்று பிரம்ம மகானந்தம் சிவார்ச்சனையுற்றோனாய் பிரம்ம மகானந்த ஜெயம் பெற்றோனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்த சுதா திருப்தனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்த மதான் மத்தனாகி பிரம்ம மகானந்தமதே தானாய் நின்றோன் பின்னமிலா பரமான விதேக முக்தன் ஜகபர ஜீவங்களென தோன்றா நின்ற சம்சார வியவகாரம் சற்றும் இன்றி அகில பரிபூரணமாய் அகண்ட சத்தாய் அறிவுருவாய் ஆனந்த கணமாய் ஒன்றாய் நிகரில் பரமாகாய ஸ்வரூபமாக நிகழ்கின்ற பரபிரம்ம தானேயாகி புகழும் ஒரு விகற்பமுமே இன்றி என்றும் பூரணமாயிருப்பவனே விதேக முக்தன் பரமசிவன் கருணையினால் எனக்கு உரைத்த பாங்காக பரமான விதேக முக்தன் மறுவியிடும் மகத்தான லக்ஷணத்தை மயலறவே நிதகனின கருளி செய்தேன் சுருதி முடி அனைத்திலுமே சாரமாகி சூக்ஷுமமாய் அரிதான இவ்வர்த்தத்தை அருமையுடன் திருடமாக கேட்டுணர்ந்தோன் அசரீர பரபிரம்மமாவனன்றே சின்மயமாய் சிவத்தினிடை சித்தம் வைத்து சிவமதுவே நாமென்றிங்கறியாதோர்க்கு சன்மயமாம் பரபிரம்ம தானேயாகி சலியாமல் இருப்பதுவாம் விதேக முக்தன் தன்மையொரு காலத்தும் சித்தியாது தத்துவமாய் நவல்கின்றே நிதாக வென்றே நின்மலமாய் ரிபு முனிவன் விதாக முக்தன் நிலை பெற்ற லக்ஷணமே நிகழ்த்தினானா தோற்றுகின்ற ஜகப்பர ஜீவரின் தொடர்பியாதொன்றும் சற்றும் இல்லாமலே சாற்று வாக்கு மனக்கட்கச்சுகோச்சர சச்சிதானந்த தற்பரமாகவே வேற்றுமை இன்றி என்றும் இருப்பதே விதேக முக்தன் இலக்ஷணம் என்றித ஏற்றுமானந்த தாண்டவமாடுனம் ஈசன் தன் பரிபூரண ரூபமே ஈசன் தன் பரிபூரண ரூபமே.